Good evening, everyone. My name is Gayatri Pillai, and I am Director 5 here in Malaluka. Welcome, everybody, to yet another session here, RTSC webcast. And I'm really excited to share with you some tips on today's topic, which will be sort of taking into dive a little bit more into critical activity number two, which is setting appointments. All right, and so the agenda for today. First, I'm going to be touching a little bit about the mindset. Okay, and because I find that that's a very crucial aspect when we are at critical activity number two, and then followed by how we should be when we are setting appointments, and some basic tips on approaches. For those of you who find they have difficulty coming up with approaches, I think I have some tips here that can definitely guide you through that challenge. All right. Before I dive into, I came across this quote by the founder himself, Mr. Frank L. Vandersloot, and he said that if you do the first two critical business building activities, all the other activities will follow. Do those activities and you will prosper. And I cannot agree with him more. I mean, the first critical activity is, as we know, is keep building your contact list. And number two, which is setting appointments. It's really like a domino effect, and we've got to start somewhere. And I think a lot of you would have taken some interesting pointers from last week's session by Jasmine, who gave us some insights on how we can build our contact list. And I hope today, to continue that domino effect, you would be able to take some pointers from today's session, and hopefully you guys will all be like superstars in setting appointments, because I'm definitely working on becoming a superstar in setting appointments. If I'm being very frank, out of all seven critical activities, number two is what I dread the most. And so I think maybe that's the reason why, Uncle Mohan and Jasmine asked me to speak about this, because I have to overcome this challenge every day and remind myself to set those appointments. And I think I can give you some tips that will come in very handy. All right, so now moving forward, I think we are all aware about this, right? I think we're all told that we must have a minimum of 200 names in our contact list. And I want to dive into a little bit more about number two. When I read this, a few months ago when they brought this I would say like a definitive roadmap to success. And I noticed that it says 20 phone calls a week. I was like, oh dear Lord. Like I said, I'm being very honest here. That was my inner thoughts, and I was like, okay, how am I going to conquer this? All right. And like Mr. Frank said himself, the first two activities are the most important ones. And so I was thinking, how am I going to make approaches and make 20 phone calls a week? And so I broke it down. It maybe takes me about 4 calls a day if I do it over 5 days. And I said, just 4 calls. It can't be that bad. I mean, I'm sure I can, make 4 calls a day if I have a thriving contact list. And so I said, okay, I will do it. And so I'm going to run through with you how I prepare myself for my daily calls. And one of the first things that I do is I make sure that I am on the right frame of mind. And I think a lot of us here, they say the mind is it's like a devil's advocate, right? It can come up with all kinds of scenarios in your head, and it can even cripple you to times where you feel like, nah, it's okay, I don't want to do it. So one of the ways that I cure my fear and making sure that I'm on the right frame of mind, number one is I need to know my objective. Okay, when I talk about my objective is why am I setting those appointments? And why do I want to talk to this particular individual? And what really helps me through that is this particular slide that I think all of you have seen before, right? My objective here is, for example, if I'm talking to a particular individual, maybe it's because they have a health issue, or they are looking to, live a more and longer, healthier lifestyle. Or maybe they are very conscious about products that they use around their home. Or maybe they want to get themselves out of debt, and I may have a vehicle that can help them with that. Or they're looking for a little bit more of a balanced lifestyle. And so I tell myself that is the objective of why I want to talk to them. All right. So that's number one. Number two, I tell myself, I got to believe in the company. All right. I got to believe in the company. And this company here, Melaleuca, they give us a million reasons why, and they make it very easy, to be frank, on believing in them. And, one of the things is they're a $1 billion debt-free company. They've been around for 31 years and they have been steadily growing year after year after year. Even during recessions, we are thriving, and it's a recession-proof business. And last but not least, I think we have over 350 really good reasons why we are opening our mouth and trying to set appointments and talk to people, because it's none other than the range of products that we have. And I think all of you here logged on tonight have experienced some, improvement in their life and through the range of products that we have here at Melaleuca. All right. And not only that, I mean, believing in the company helps when your retention rate is 95%, right? 95%. Imagine if you had 100 customers, we're saying 95 of them would come back month after month after month just to shop from Melaleuca. And so I think that puts you in a good stead as well, and to say that, okay, I am with the right company. That's the second thing that I do. And the third thing that I do is I got to believe in the people that I talk to, right? Now, and one of the things I always tell myself is not to prejudge, all right? Not to discount them before I've spoken to them. You never know, all right? Because sometimes the most unlikely person make the best customers. And sometimes you might even find a business builder in them. All right. So if you really believe in others and invest in them, all right, because some of the times when, let's say, before you set an appointment, all right, you're building relationship with them. If you really believe where they are coming from, right, and if you identify with that person, right, they trust you. They trust you. They feel like they can tell you about their feelings, and you feel like you can identify with their thoughts and their feelings. And you can say things like, I feel the same way, or I understand where they're coming from. Chances are they will be a lot more open to hearing what you have to offer. All right. And this is something that I do during the building rapport stage. Now, I'm not telling you to fake it and say, yes, yes, I trust everything that you say, and I believe you just because you want an appointment. No, we're not supposed to do that. But I'm saying that just try not to prejudge, right? Be open. And I think if you are open, that would immediately come across to the individual that you're talking to. Okay. And last but not least, the fourth thing that I do that helps me, clear my fear of setting appointments is believing in myself. Now, sometimes, this business, in our highs, we believe it so much. But with anything in life, we have our ups and we have our downs. And sometimes during our downs, we need something that's going to pick us up and set those appointments, pick ourselves up and function, right? And we got to believe in ourselves in the sense that, why am I doing this, right? Why am I setting appointments? Why am I involved in Melaleuca? Which I kind of go back to my why, the reason why I am partners with Melaleuca. And I have this one particular seat in my room, which is right in front of my study, is where I set my appointments every day. And in that particular seat, I have a direct view. I have this particular sheet on my wall which kind of tells me, I affirm myself to say that what you're doing is right, and some affirmations also help along the way. And then I also have my why just planted right in front of me, a daily reminder to tell me that, okay, this is why I'm doing this. And so that puts my mind in the right frame of in the right frame of thought, as well as it reduces the fear of talking to someone else. Because technically, with you know why you're talking to them, you're with a company that has amazing track record and products. You're giving them the benefit of the doubt because you know this is going to assist them. And last but not least, you know you're coming from a good place. And I think with all of that, you can definitely help achieve, and enhance people's lives when our mindset is on the right, when it's put right. Okay, so those are the few things that I do. And I find mindset is something that's really, really important because I notice that, some days we just dive into, okay, let's just take up our phone and set appointments. Unfortunately, I find the results might not be as great as if you really focus and give yourself some time to just rejig your mind and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. It's not a long process, maybe about 5 minutes or so. These are for individuals who have these issues, right? Where you're like, if you're worried of like, and you feel like your phone is like 500 pounds and it becomes so difficult to lift it up, this is something that you can do. Because once you get your mindset in check, it's much easier. And suddenly from 500 pounds, your phone might feel, a pound. All right. So this definitely helps because this is something that I kind of go through off and on, and it works for me, and I hope it does for you as well. So once I've put myself on, I would say, in the right frame of mind, next thing is, I must know how I should be when I'm setting my appointments, right? And I treat it like, people who, let's say, professional sports players, right? Like baseball players or a tennis player. They always have a moment to themselves before they enter the court or the ring. They kind of psych themselves up to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I know it sounds like, oh my God, so daunting. Like, must we also do this in Melaleuca? But I find that the process is about the same, but it really does make a lot of difference. And so once your mindset is sorted, the next thing is how you present yourself. And that's why I want to talk a little bit about posture. Now, we're advised to make phone calls, right? And the highlight here being phone. So we're not supposed to do a lot of calls, but your tonation also comes across. So you must be chirpy, you must be cheerful, and you must come across positive. Now, one of the few things that I do to come across that way, because I'm technically not seeing this person, it's all via the phone. I keep my voice up, right? I keep my voice up and I sound positive and I smile. And that smile does go through, like the people on the other line would know where you are at. That vibe will definitely translate through. All right. So that is something I find it's really, really important is that you sound cheerful and you sound happy and you sound positive. Positivity just got to ooze out of you like all the time when we're setting appointments, even if we have no's. All right, it's really important to sound positive and cheerful. So that's something one of the first things that I do. The second thing that I would recommend all of you to do as well is to be prepared. When I talk about be prepared, you must know who you are talking to. One of the things that I do is the night before. So this is something that I think maybe you guys can try, which I've learned as well, is that when I read a lot about, when I go to entrepreneurs' websites, one of the things they always say is get the most difficult task out of the way first thing in the morning. And for me, it's calls, right? I'm okay with every other critical activity. I still struggle off and on with making those appointments. So what I do is it's the biggest task that I do, I finish it off in the morning. So I set a time from 10 to 10:30. That's when I do my calls alternate days. So I based on my schedule, I've aligned it and I make sure I finish it off as the first thing that I do in the morning is make my 4 phone calls. And when I do that, it's part of my preparation. I have a slot that I dedicate just to making calls, and I make it very clear in my calendar as well. On top of that, what I do is I do not on that morning decide who I'm going to talk to. I do that the day before. So every night when I come back, I will identify these are the few individuals. Okay, today I'm going to talk to A, B, C, and D. And then somehow I notice that when I go to bed, my mind is just kind of preparing for, me talking to these individuals the next day. And somehow it comes out more natural. And because you're prepared, you know what to say and how to make those approaches even better. Whether it's an approach on safer products, whether it's on time freedom, looking for a new business partner, a healthier lifestyle, whatever it may be. Because you were prepared, it will come across much more smoother. All right. The third thing that I would do is I would keep it simple. When I say keep it simple, we should avoid, and I think most of you know this, we should avoid doing a DWP on the phone. DWP basically means doing a presentation on the phone. What we want here is a short phone call, maximum 2 minutes, just to kind of give them enough information to make them interested, and so you can set a date to really sit down and run through what Melaleuca has to offer. All right, so keeping it simple is one really important thing, because what I notice is that when we are not prepared and we say, hey, can we meet up? I would love to show you about Melaleuca. If you're not prepared, you might also encounter resistance. Not saying that if you are prepared, you will not, but I'm saying that it's better that when you keep it simple, you can also avoid unnecessary questions and resistance from the customer, the prospect. I'll give you an example. For example, if you say, hey, it's Melaleuca, have you heard of it? And then the person goes, no. And then you can say, that's what I want to show you, right? So do you have some time on Tuesday or Thursday, and I could show you what's it all about? All right, so that's one way of tackling a resistance when they ask you, what is it? What is it, Gaia? Can you just tell me? They say, no, I would love to show you. That's exactly, you'll be interested to know more about it when I meet you. Would this time or that time work? That's one. Now, if they come across and said that, have you heard about Melaleuca? And they'll be like, yes, I have. So I would reply in a positive manner, encountering the resistance in a positive manner by saying, great, I thought you might have run across it before. So let's get together and I can show you what's it all about. So that somehow works. And then they're like, oh, okay, sure, great. And then we can set a date and then you can do your whole DWP. But let's keep it short, just get straight to the point, what the approach is, get the time and date and be out of there. All right. The fourth thing that I would do is making it natural. Now, the last thing you want to do is to sound as if it's scripted. Now, a lot of people have asked me as well, Gaia, how do you say it? Can you write it down for me and then I can just say it exactly the way it is? Now, I will be more than happy to write it down for you, but it will sound like a Gaia's approach, not like your own approach. You got to personalize it yourself, but it has to sound like you. And so one of the tips that you can take out from this on making it natural is I want you to think about the last time, like when you shared, say you went to the cinema and you saw this movie, for example, Star Wars, like, oh my God, Star Wars is out. It's amazing. You should definitely catch it, right? It sounds very natural. You're technically doing free advertisement for Star Wars, and that would intrigue whoever you're talking to be like, okay, sure, I'll check out Star Wars. That's it. So keep it natural, right? So when you're sharing Melaleuca, it doesn't have to be any different from that. Whether you're sharing your favorite restaurant to someone or a favorite book, right? So the simple key is to, in making a good approach, is this. Just think about how Melaleuca will make a difference to the person you're talking to. That's it. Nothing else. And last but not least, right, you must confirm, right? Because this is another thing that a lot of people faces, is that they'll get on the phone and they'll start chit-chatting and they'll be like, sure, sure, I'd love to hear more about it. And it'll be like, oh, okay, sure. And then there's no closing, right? Now, closing does not only apply when you're doing a DWP. You got to close as well when you're doing setting appointments, all right? And the main agenda of picking up that phone is to get an appointment. So you must end the conversation with an appointment or something to say, if this is not a good time, can I call you at this time to schedule a time and date? You must get something out of that conversation. I always believe in that. And that's something that I always tell my team is that when you make a call and just say the person doesn't have so much time, reschedule it and say, it would this time be okay to give you a ring so that we could set a time and date for our appointment? And they'll be like, sure, great, follow up with me on this particular time. We can do that. Now, let's just say you're on the phone and they're like, sure, I'd love to hear more about it. Very simple. The final part of the confirmation, like I said, is to confirm the appointment. And one of the things that you must do is you must provide a minimum of 2 options. So you got to look at your schedule and in a way to say like, sure, I'm free anytime this week. That's not going to work. All right, because it's very vague, and also you're giving the impression to the person that you're talking to that you're very free. All right, and sometimes when we do that, they tend to take advantage of your time, and you do not want to be put in that position. So what I generally do is I'll say, you know what, I'm actually free tomorrow for lunch, or maybe we could do coffee or on Thursday or Friday morning. What works best for you? Right? Which works best for you? And then they will come back with it because it already kind of programs in their mind to say, okay, either tomorrow or Thursday or Friday. Then they will check their schedule and they will let me know. Some of them might even come back and say, you know what, this week isn't really working. How about next week, Wednesday? Then you say, sure, let me just check my schedule. And you'll be like, yeah, next week, Wednesday works great. And then set the date, thank them for the appointment. Tell them that, another thing that I do is I'll be like, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to it. Sound chirpy, sound cheerful, sound positive, and confirm the date and time. Now, make sure you mark it in your calendar, all right? Because sometimes when we're so busy, if you're setting appointments on the go, you might forget. So that's one of the reasons why I try to get the appointments out first thing in the morning, 10 to 10:30. I'm right in front of my PC with my calendar facing right at me, and I can set immediately. And the other thing that I always do is that I always make sure that I confirm the appointment a day before. And I would not put it in a way to say like, so are we on tomorrow? Which is like an open-ended question, which technically allows them to say, no, we're not on, I have to reschedule. What I would generally say is, I'm really excited to see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock at this place. See you then. Take care. So, that's one of the ways that I tackle resistance towards the end, because they would have said yes to the appointment and you don't want some last minute cancellation. So I kind of tackle that in that way. And then once you've gotten the appointment, I think, I tell myself, yes, congratulations, Gaia, you've just made an appointment today. So I pat myself at the back and then I'll be like, okay, let's start again. So I pick up the phone again and I do it again for another 3 more times so that I'm done with my 4 calls for that day. And then we do it all over again the following day so that we can achieve our minimum 20 calls. So these are some of the things that I do while we're setting appointments. Now, the last part that I want to share with you guys are the approaches. Now, you're already thinking, okay, so now I know how to get myself on the right frame of mind. I know how I should be when I am setting appointments. But maybe some of you might have difficulties of knowing what to say. I don't know how to approach this person, or I don't know how to say. What should I say, right? How can I personalize my approach for this individual? Well, I have some tips here, which maybe you want to take it down or, or put some mental notes on this. There is this approach that I found from this marketing executive, but he from the US, but now he works with the head office, HQ in the US. His name is Mr. Mark Townsend, and one of the things that he does is he coaches a lot of people on approaches. He used to build the business and he did really well. And then the company decided to engage him to be part of the corporate side of Malaluka. And so now he's working for Malaluka. In fact, I've learned a lot from him in the sense that when we talk about approaches, because sometimes I myself don't really know how to personalize it, and so I ask people in my team and so on. But in the beginning, I noticed that we can't run away from these few words, which is specialize, helping, share or show, depending on the circumstances. So I'll show you a business approach, right? And it reads something like, say, "Hi Nick, how are you?" And so he will respond saying, "Great, da 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 da." And then you can say, "I was calling because you mentioned the other day that your wife was just laid off. I was recently introduced to a company that specializes in helping families create additional income, and I was really impressed by it. Do you have 30 minutes so I can share or show a little about what we found to see if it could help you?" So, what you notice from that approach is this: is the fact that they tackled on their need. Now, sharing an approach is really, really about identifying your prospective customers' needs and focusing on how Melaleuca can help those needs. And so, if it's a business angle, that could be something, one of the ways that you can approach, right? Another thing you can say is, you know what, our company actually specializes in helping realtors like bridge the gaps between closings. For example, our company specializes in helping car salesmen bridge the gap between paydays, or helping moms stay home with their children, or helping those in sales who've seen a decrease in pay because of this economy. These are some things that, you can sort of custom make just by using these keywords. Now, if we look on a service approach, right? Now, this is a little bit different from a business approach because this basically, allows you to pay, you got to give like a sincere compliment to the person you're talking to. Now, it could be, I've done this before because I'm actually an interior designer and I deal with a lot of suppliers. So one of the ways that I do is that if I like the way some of my suppliers are, they're very professional and so on. So I would just pay them a compliment, and I'll be like, you've been really helpful, and I'm always looking for people like you in my business, right? And I say, I work for a company that specializes in helping people work from home. I know you're busy working right now, so let me get your number and I'll call you so we can set up a time where I can show you what I have found. So that is one way of doing it. But with the service approach, it's got to come with a compliment, all right? And be sincere about it, all right? People love compliments anyway. The last but not least is the product approach, which I find a lot of us use, and it's very easy because we can really identify someone's need, especially through our products, because we've got some amazing ranges of products. And you can talk about something like if you know someone who has cholesterol issues, right? You can say, I don't know if you're aware, but I'm actually with a company called Melaleuca that has products that specialize in helping people with their cholesterol problems. Would you mind if I come over and showed you a little bit more about what this can do for you, right? Or you can say, our company specializes in helping people lose weight, right? And we've got an amazing weight loss program. You can say our company specializes in helping people use safer cleaning products for their home, right? Or people who want better nutrition. So we can really play around with these words and personalize it based on the person that we are talking to. So to sum up for the approaches, some of the keywords that you can really play around with. Number one, which is specializing in helping. And the second one is share. But generally now, instead of share, I tend to use show. Why I use show is because when I say show, they are aware that I'm going to be showing something to them, whether it's showing the store or opening my laptop and showing them a slide or showing them a book. So they are prepared to see something visual. So you won't have that daunting feeling like once you set the appointment and suddenly like a laptop opens and they'll be like, okay, what's happening? So I noticed that when we use the word show, people are a little bit more chilled about it. all right, and a little bit more open as well. And so that basically, puts you in a state where, with these few keywords, I think you can really personalize your approaches. And this is something that I do during my being prepared phase. I think about it the night before and say, okay, these are the people that I want to talk to. This is roughly the pointers that I'm going to, and then I give them a ring and set the appointment. All right. Now, the other thing that I think we should all kind of uh, take take some pointers on as well is creating urgency. All right, and this is something I was just talking to Jasmine about recently as well. Now, how do you create urgency in setting appointments? Now, I told you that we only have 2 minutes, right? I mean, it's best kept that way. So instead of, failing to keep your call brief and falling into the trap of, trying immediately and explaining about Melaleuca, simply letting them know that, hey, I just thought about you. I just wanted to give you a ring before I'll go into a meeting, and you can just simply letting them know that you don't exactly have so much time. And some of the ways I do it is that, hey, I'm just walking into a meeting, or like just a quick one. I was just wondering how you're doing, and I really thought about you, and would love to meet up with you and show you what Melaleuca can offer, or something along those lines. Also, definitely creates an urgency to get a date from them. All right. And so with that, the other thing that I always do as well is, even if you get a no, end it nicely and say, thank you so much for your time. I hope you're doing good. I hope we can catch up a coffee anyway and see how things are. Or you can say, sure, no issues at all. Thank you for, answering my call. Keep it light, keep it friendly, and like I said, keep it positive so that it doesn't feel awkward next time around when you meet that individual. And with setting appointments, it really is a number game. So you might get yeses and you might get nos, and that's really okay, because every day this is something that's, I call it critical for a reason, I guess, and it's something that you will go through day in, day out. Okay, and speaking about yeses and nos, I just wanted to share with you some of my favorite rejection quotes. And I like reading this off and on, and I thought of sharing it with you here today. And one of it says, rejection is the sand in the oyster, the irritant that ultimately produces a pearl. The other one is, rejection will never hurt for as long as regret. That's one of my favorites. So I rather pick up that call, not prejudge that person, and just share it. And if they say no, and that's okay. But the last thing I want to know is that they become a customer through someone else and be like, oh dear, that could have been a prospect, could have been a potential customer. So we want to avoid that as well. So just pick up the call, and like I said, you never know, right? You never know. The wildest person and the most unlikely person might become your new builder or customer. And with that, I just want to tell you that setting appointments can be very daunting, and it is for me off and on. But with having the right mindset and making sure that you're prepared and taking all the right steps that I shared with you today, I'm pretty confident that you will be better at setting appointments, and tell yourself that it's a trial and error. There is no right way or wrong way of doing it, because the people that you're talking to are different. Every day you're talking to different people, and we're all built differently. So I just want you to know that it's okay if you make mistakes. We learn from them and we perfect it. And this is another favorite quote of mine. It's by Michael Jordan. And I tell myself, I remind this because a lot of people always share that, oh, I've made 3 appointments today, or I've done 4 enrollments this month. But very rarely do people actually share the trials and tribulations that they went through to get those 4 enrollments, or those 3 or 20 appointments, right? And so, like Michael Jordan said it best, he said that I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games, 26 times. I've been trusted to take a game winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. So never be afraid to pick up that call, to pick up that phone and make that call. And trust me, like what Mr. Frank van der Sloot said, it's a domino effect. Once you have those names, set those appointments, and you will notice the difference and the change in your business. And with that, thank you everyone for logging in tonight. And I hope you've taken a couple of pointers from today's webinar. And have a good evening. And yeah, good night, everyone.